$300 billion. That is how much cash Warren Buffett is holding today. Not invested, not rushed into the market, just waiting. In a world that tells you to always be active, always invested, Buffett is doing the opposite. Today, we're not talking about stock picks. We're talking about patience, discipline, and the psychology of waiting. This is a lesson not just for investors, but for anyone trying to make better long-term decisions. Buffett often says that investing is not like baseball. In baseball, you get 3 strikes. In investing, there are no strikes. You don't have to swing at every pitch. This idea is called the fat pitch theory. It means you wait sometimes for years until the opportunity is clear, simple, and heavily in your favor. Buffett does not invest just because he has cash. He invests only when the odds are clearly right. Berkshire Hathaway is not a company that invests on a fixed schedule. It is an opportunistic business. Buffett has said that being forced to invest a huge amount of money every year just because you have it is one of the dumbest ideas in investing. If there is no good opportunity, the smartest move is to do nothing. Holding cash is not laziness. It is strategic restraint. One of Buffett's biggest advantages is patience. He has made enormous returns, not by being fully invested at all times, but by being ready when others are desperate. No one knows what the market will do tomorrow, or next month, or even next year. Cash gives you the ability to wait and to act when fear creates opportunity. Buffett often credits his late partner, Charlie Munger, for teaching him to do less, not more. Munger believed that you don't need 50 great investments in a lifetime. You only need a few. 5 truly exceptional decisions can change everything. Doing fewer things but doing them right is how extraordinary results are made. Some people ask whether Buffett is holding cash to make things easier for his successor. Buffett joked that he is not being that generous. He is holding cash because it is the best decision for shareholders right now. Not for optics, not for legacy, but for rational reasons. Buffett is confident that opportunities will return. Markets move in cycles. Fear always comes back. It may take 1 year or 5, but when great opportunities arrive, Buffett wants to be ready with ammunition. The lesson here is simple, but difficult. You don't get rewarded for being busy. You get rewarded for being right at the right time. Opportunities come when we least expect them, but only those with patience and preparation can take advantage of them. Thank you for listening to Jaen Talk. If you're ready, let's continue. Most people misunderstand why waiting is so difficult. Waiting is not hard because it takes time. Waiting is hard because it goes against our emotions. When markets are rising, we feel stupid for not participating. When everyone else is making money, doing nothing feels like failure. But Buffett understands something most people don't. The market does not reward activity. It rewards judgment. Doing nothing when nothing is right is not inactivity, it is discipline. Cash feels uncomfortable because it has no story. Stocks have stories. Crypto has excitement. Real estate has confidence. Cash just sits there. But that is exactly its power. Cash gives you optionality. It gives you freedom. It gives you the ability to say no until the right yes appears. Most people lose not because they are wrong, but because they are forced. You don't need $300 billion to learn this lesson. For ordinary people, cash means margin of safety. It means fewer sleepless nights. It means fewer emotional decisions. It means the ability to walk away from bad choices. In life, just like in investing, having a buffer changes everything. Patience becomes possible only when survival is not at risk. Always being invested sounds smart, but it often means always being exposed. Exposure to fear, exposure to panic, exposure to regret. Buffett avoids this by accepting one simple truth. Missing opportunities is cheaper than chasing bad ones. Holding cash is not about predicting the future. It is about respecting uncertainty. The future will always surprise us. Markets will always move in cycles. Those who survive are not the smartest, but the most prepared. Thank you for spending this time with Jaen Talk. If this episode helped you think more clearly, then it has done its job. And that is why he is comfortable holding $300 billion in cash. So how do we apply this way of thinking in real life? Most people ask, what should I invest in right now? Buffett asks a different question. Is this a time to act or a time to wait? This shift is powerful. Action is visible. Here is a simple framework anyone can use. First, separate money into two parts: survival money and opportunity money. Survival money is not for investing. It protects your sleep, your focus, and your judgment. Opportunity money waits. It does nothing until the odds are clearly favorable. Second, accept that boredom is part of good decision making. If you are always excited, you are probably rushing. Waiting is invisible, but invisible decisions often shape our lives more than visible ones. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because waiting feels lonely. When everyone else is doing something, doing nothing feels like being left behind. But long-term success often requires short-term discomfort. Buffett is comfortable being alone in his thinking. That is why he can wait. This idea goes beyond investing. In careers, waiting for the right role is often better than taking the wrong one quickly. In relationships, patience prevents expensive mistakes. In life, not every opportunity deserves your energy. Knowing when to say no is just as important as knowing when to say yes. Holding cash is not about fear. Here is a simple framework anyone can use. First, separate money into two parts: survival money and opportunity money. Survival money is not for investing. It protects your sleep, your focus, and your judgment. Opportunity money waits. It does nothing until the odds are clearly favorable. Second, accept that boredom is part of good decision making. If you are always excited, you are probably rushing. It is about humility. It is the acceptance that we do not know what comes next. Buffett does not wait because he is afraid. He waits because he respects uncertainty. And that respect is what allows him to act decisively. When the moment finally arrives, most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because waiting feels lonely. When everyone else is doing something, doing nothing feels like being left behind. But long-term success often requires short-term discomfort. Buffett is comfortable being alone in his thinking. That is why he can wait. This idea goes beyond investing. In careers, waiting for the right role is often better than taking the wrong one quickly. In relationships, patience prevents expensive mistakes. In life, not every opportunity deserves your energy. Knowing when to say no is just as important as knowing when to say yes. It is about humility. It is the acceptance that we do not know what comes next. Buffett does not wait because he is afraid. He waits because he respects uncertainty. And that respect is what allows him to act decisively. When the moment finally arrives, the market will always offer opportunities. The question is not when they come, but whether you will be ready. Thank you for spending this time with Jaen Talk. If this episode helped you slow down and think more clearly, then it was worth the wait. Waiting is usually seen as weakness, but in reality, waiting can be a competitive advantage. Most people feel pressure to act because action feels productive. But productivity is not the same as progress. When you wait with intention, you are not standing still. You are positioning yourself. You conserve energy. You preserve clarity. You protect optionality. And when the right moment arrives, you move without hesitation. Here is a simple checklist to know whether you are waiting well or just avoiding decisions. First, your basics are covered. You are not waiting because you are afraid to act. You are waiting because your foundation is solid. Second, you have clear criteria. You know what yes looks like before it appears. Third, you are learning while you wait. You are reading, observing, improving judgment. Waiting without preparation is just delay. Waiting with preparation is strategy. Forced action has a cost that is rarely discussed. It creates stress. It erodes confidence, and it trains you to ignore warning signs. When you feel forced to act, you stop asking, "Is this right?" and start asking, "How do I justify this?" That shift is dangerous. Patience protects you from self-deception. There's a quiet rule behind all of this. You don't need to act often. You need to act correctly a few times. Most progress comes from avoiding big mistakes, not from making many moves. This is true in investing. It is true in careers, and it is true in life. Holding cash is not a bet against the future. It is a commitment to discipline. It is the willingness to wait until the right moment earns your action. In a world that rewards noise and speed, quiet patience becomes rare and therefore valuable. Thank you for staying with Jaen Talk. If this episode helped you wait a little better, then it has already paid off. One of the hardest skills to master is not analysis, but restraint. Most people talk when they are unsure. They act when they are uncomfortable. They move because silence feels awkward. Buffett is comfortable with silence. Silence gives space for reality to speak. It reveals patterns. It exposes weak ideas. When you rush to fill silence with action, you often cover the truth instead of discovering it. Speed looks impressive. It creates the illusion of control. But most meaningful decisions are not improved by speed. They are improved by distance. Distance from emotion, distance from noise, distance from urgency. Buffett wins not because he is fast, but because he is rarely rushed. Waiting is not the absence of choice. Waiting is a choice. It is the decision to protect capital, to protect judgment, to protect future options. Every time you choose not to act, you are saying yes to something else. Clarity, flexibility, and patience. Before we end this episode, I want to leave you with one question. Not a question to answer quickly, but one to sit with. Are you acting because the opportunity is right, or because waiting feels uncomfortable? That answer changes everything. Warren Buffett's $300 billion in cash is not about fear. It is about confidence. Confidence in patience, confidence in discipline, and confidence that opportunities will return. You don't need his money to learn his mindset. You just need the courage to wait when waiting is the right move. Hesitation comes from fear. Waiting comes from clarity. When you hesitate, you are stuck. You feel pressure, but you don't move. When you wait with intention, you are calm. You are observant. You are prepared. Buffett is not frozen by uncertainty. He is comfortable with it. He knows that uncertainty is not the enemy. Impatience is. Financial markets are brutal to impatient people. They reward those who can sit through boredom. They punish those who need constant stimulation. Every cycle creates the same pattern. Excitement, confidence, overconfidence, panic. Those who wait skip the first three stages. They enter only when panic creates value. This is not luck. It is positioning. Always being invested has an emotional cost. You wake up checking prices, you react to headlines. Your mood follows the market. Over time, this erodes judgment. Buffett avoids this by creating distance. Distance from price movements, distance from noise, distance from other people's emotions. Cash creates that distance, and distance protects thinking. Most people think of insurance as something you buy, but cash is a form of insurance. It ensures your ability to say no. It ensures your sleep. It ensures your long-term perspective. You don't feel its value when markets are calm. You feel it when everything breaks. Buffett understands this deeply. Doing nothing feels hard because society praises movement. We celebrate action. We reward speed. We confuse motion with progress. But many of the best decisions in life look like nothing from the outside. Quiet waiting rarely gets applause, but it often gets results. We live in a short-term world. Short-term news, short-term incentives, short-term emotions. Buffett lives in a different time frame. He thinks in decades, not days. He prepares for storms long before clouds appear. That is why holding cash makes sense to him. As you listen to this, you don't need to change anything immediately. You don't need to act. Just notice, where in your life are you rushing? Because waiting feels uncomfortable? That awareness alone is already progress. Warren Buffett's $300 billion in cash is a reminder that patience is not passive, that discipline is powerful, and that waiting, when done well, is one of the most active decisions you can make. In a world obsessed with speed, the ability to wait becomes rare, and what is rare often becomes valuable. Preparation rarely looks impressive. No one applauds you for holding cash. No one celebrates you for waiting. Preparation happens quietly, often when nothing seems to be happening. Buffett understands that preparation is not about predicting the future. It is about surviving uncertainty. When others are forced to react, he is free to choose. That freedom is not accidental. It is built slowly through restraint. This may sound counterintuitive, but freedom often comes from constraints. By limiting his actions, Buffett expands his options. By refusing to chase every opportunity, he protects his ability to act when it matters. Most people think freedom means doing more, but in reality, freedom often means doing less, but with intention. Waiting is not a battle against the market. It is a battle against yourself, against the urge to feel productive, against the fear of missing out, against the discomfort of uncertainty. Most people don't lose money because they lack information. They lose money because they cannot sit with discomfort. Buffett understands this inner battle well. He knows that markets tempt people to act, not because action is wise, but because action relieves anxiety. Waiting forces you to face that anxiety directly. And most people would rather lose money than sit quietly with uncertainty. Doing nothing feels dangerous because we associate movement with progress. When others are buying, selling, posting profits, silence feels like failure. But Buffett knows something important. Progress is not always visible. Sometimes progress looks like stability. Sometimes it looks like survival. Sometimes it looks like restraint. In investing, staying alive is already winning. Cash allows you to stay alive when others are forced to make bad decisions. Most good decisions are boring. They don't create excitement. They don't give you stories to tell. Holding cash is boring. Waiting is boring. Doing nothing is boring, but boring decisions compound quietly. Buffett's advantage is not brilliance. It is consistency. He avoids big mistakes again and again. And avoiding big mistakes, cash feels passive until the moment it isn't. When markets break, cash becomes aggressive. It allows you to buy when others must sell. It allows you to negotiate when others are desperate. It allows you to act calmly in chaos. Buffett does not see cash as idle money. He sees it as stored optionality, a weapon that only works when others have run out of choices. Most people learn the value of cash only after they no longer have it. They learn it during layoffs, during crashes, during personal crises. Buffett learns it in advance. He prepares for storms while the sky is still clear. That preparation looks unnecessary until it becomes essential. If you feel uncomfortable listening to this, that's normal. It means you are touching something important. Waiting challenges identity. It asks, who are you when you are not acting? Who are you when you are not performing? Buffett is comfortable with that question. Most people are not. It is more powerful than chasing big wins. You don't need to master the market. You need to master yourself. The ability to wait is the ability to remain whole while the world demands movement. That ability is rare, and rarity is where value begins. At some point, every investor and every person has to accept a difficult truth. You cannot control timing. You cannot control outcomes, and you cannot force opportunity. What you can control is how prepared you are. When opportunity finally arrives, Warren Buffett's decision to hold massive amounts of cash is not a prediction. It is an acceptance that the world is uncertain, an acceptance that cycles repeat, and an acceptance that patience is not weakness, but strength. There is a quiet confidence that comes from not needing to act, not because you are frozen, not because you are unsure, but because you know this is not the moment. That confidence does not come from intelligence. It comes from experience. From having seen cycles before, Buffett has seen bubbles. He has seen crashes. He has seen fear and euphoria many times. The hardest skill in investing is not analysis. It is trusting yourself enough to wait. Waiting means you may look wrong. For a long time, it means watching others succeed while you stay still. It means being misunderstood. Buffett accepts this cost because he knows that short-term embarrassment is cheaper than long-term regret. That history allows him to stay calm. You don't need billions of dollars when others are desperate for this lesson to matter. In an ordinary life, waiting looks like saving when others spend. It looks like saying no when others say yes. It looks like choosing stability over excitement. And it looks boring until one day it isn't. Cash, patience, and restraint give you room to breathe, and breathing room changes how you see the world. Before we end, there is one final question worth asking. Not about markets, not about money, but about you. Are you acting because the moment is right or because waiting feels uncomfortable? That answer will quietly shape your future. Warren Buffett's cash position is not a mystery. It is a message that says you don't have to act all the time. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to rush. In a world that celebrates speed, choosing patience becomes a quiet form of wisdom. Thank you for staying until the end of this episode. This was Jaen Talk, a place to slow down, to think clearly, and to prepare quietly for the moments that truly matter.